Welcome back to part 2 of the Junior Mint truck build. Today I'm going to be going over the build strategy, and what you see behind me is what I've been prepping out for this truck for about the last 4 months or so. Really excited about this build, so let's see where it's going to go. So here we go. You might have thought that I was going to be dropping this truck and making it, you know, Crown Vic or whatever, making it low, which might have been my original intent. But then I decided that how cool would it be if you did a patina 4-wheel drive lifted truck? Because you see tons of patina trucks that are 2-wheel drive and they're lowered, but you don't see a ton of trucks that are patina 4-wheel drive and lifted. So I wanted to do something different. Plus I have a patina lowrider truck that you'll see in a later series that's being built here at Dentside Depot. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. So let's talk about this frame and its prep out and everything. First, I want to go over the Marty report here. So this Marty report, it's a Philadelphia truck VIN. So it's an F250 custom. It's a complete base model. Believe it or not, the paint for the F26 VIN is dark jade. So it's not totally correct, but it's pretty close. Why did I buy this particular VIN? Well, the reason I wanted it, and you can see it right here, I highlighted in yellow. For those of you that don't know, that is the snow plow package. Now, base model truck, nothing really fancy on it, but when you order the snow plow package, some people call it the Snofighter, you get something very special. And that is the Dana 60 front axle. That's pretty much my signature. I put the Dana 60 in every single truck that I build. I don't care what truck it is. If it's gonna be 4-wheel drive, it's gonna get a Dana 60, 78, 79 Kingpin in it. It's my favorite axle of all time. I love the look, and obviously they are known throughout the entire off-roading world for their durability. Let's check out the truck here. So this frame is unbelievably clean. I stripped it all the way down. Every single bracket that doesn't have factory rivets was removed from this truck and was sent off for powder coating. I mechanically stripped the entire frame. I hung it on my lift and I POR 15'd it. Then I put everything back together. Essentially did the same thing with the front and rear axles. It is 354s. The rear is a factory limited slip, which also shows up on the Marty report, which is obviously fantastic. That's exactly what you want. Let's start out with talking about the motor. So the motor is a 351M, so it's a 385 series. That would be 351M, 400M, and then the same bell housing pattern as a 460, but obviously different than a 460. But all 385 series engines. I actually drove out to Pittsburgh about 4 hours each way and picked this motor up. Nice gentleman, unfortunately had a friend that passed away, and this was in his original like 58,000 mile truck. The rear main on it went, and him and his buddies wanted to do a tribute, and they decided to do a 460. So they pulled it out, and I got the engine, the headers, which I got jet coated. I got all the stainless exhaust with it, a brand new Holley, I think it's a 6150 carb, and a few other things came with it too, which was nice. So I got a really good deal on the engine. I was originally just going to do the rear main on it. Then of course, you know how it is, you get into things, and before I knew it, the whole engine was apart, and I put a Elgin Pro Stock cam in it, did the heads, did the valves, seals, all that good stuff. I mean, if you have it apart, you might as well. It has an Edelbrock low-rise intake on it, Pumeric spacer, Proform, distributor. But besides the cam, it's mostly stock. I don't really care about it having a ton of power. That doesn't really interest me that much. Did send the box out the blue top. Dual stabilizers in the front. Rough Country 4-inch lift kit. I'm not going to talk much about that because I'm going to do a separate video. That is the Lowboy Rough Country 4-inch lift. I will talk about that in a separate video, but I want to drive this truck before I review it. I do have some goods and a couple bads that are totally minor, but we'll talk about all that. All new lines. I just have a thing with copper lines. I do all my builds with copper lines. The proportioning valve will just be mounted to the fender well. I'm not really concerned about that. This truck is not supposed to be mechanically perfect. C6 transmission that came out of one of my X36 trucks. I have no idea if it shifts right or not. I put a filter in it and obviously changed the fluid. Previous owner said it was fine. He had no reason to lie to me, so I'm just assuming that it's good, and if not, well, then I got more work on my hands. That's okay. Transfer case, it's not rebuilt. I just pulled all the covers off and did the seals and cleaned it and painted it, but I did not take the rods out of it or do anything like that, the shift levers, so it's just painted and looks nice. There's really no reason to rebuild an MP205 unless it's bad. This one was a low mileage one. It's technically a 78, not a 79. You can tell by the metal tag, but this truck, the F26 VIN, was a very, it was actually built in 78, so it technically could be correct, but this truck did have a 79 transfer case in it when I bought it, but no big deal. Stainless exhaust, 2.5 inch. The passenger side goes over the transmission cross member, and then the driver's side goes underneath. I just heat wrap that there just so I'm not baking the transfer case. 2 seconds of work. Side exits in front of the wheels. Dana 60 354 limited slip rear. Lug nut 4x4 rear disc brake conversion, would highly recommend. That is the early Eldorado big rear calipers, but they're not factory calipers, they are recast. The e-brake is built in. I have not put the e-brakes on because you are supposed to run fluid through the calipers before adjusting them. So I will put the e-brakes on after the cab is on and there's fluid in there and everything. Chevy Silverado, the 80s square body style brake hoses. I probably wouldn't do this way again. I'd probably get the universal kit where it just screws on like the Skyjacker one here. It's kind of a pain to get it set up, so next time I'm not going to do it that way. I still have to get a little connector piece for that, but I did weld on tabs. I hate when you see brake lines just dangling in the breeze. That's not the way to do it. They need to be secured. I make sure all my lines are secured. You can see back here how incredible this frame is. Few notes where these frames go bad the most. Number one is these shock towers. In that pocket, they get filled with water and they rust out. These ones are basically mint. There's nothing wrong with them. Right here where this lip is, water just sits there and they rust out. This one's fine. These brackets are known for going bad. This one's starting to thin a little bit, but not really that much. Totally strong. You can see every single bracket has factory rivets. There's a few things I still need to put on. The fuel tank, which is going to come out of that truck because it's brand new. The rear suspension is not bolted down yet because I want to get all the weight in it before I cinch everything together. I did do the front cab mounts. So Bronco Graveyard sells the tabs. I actually cut it with a plasma cutter and then welded it in from the top and the bottom, and from the top I grinded it down so you can't even tell. I like to keep all the factory rivets on it when I can. So conundrum with the front suspension that I'm still working on. I got Skyjacker's SDL 250 drag link, and it was too steep with the factory pitman arm. My angle was way too high and I had the drag link pretty much adjusted all the way out. So I bought the Skyjacker one to drop it down more. I think this will work, but I'm still not totally sure what I'm gonna do for that setup. But we'll see. I wanna get some more weight on it before I make a final decision on that. I did go through the Dana front 60. I took everything off of it except for, I did not take this knuckle all the way off because it didn't need to come off, and I didn't pull the carrier up because it didn't need to be. But besides that, everything else was pulled out and redone. They're really not that bad. As long as you have an air chisel and a little propane torch, you can take these apart, no problem. You don't need to be, intimidated by them. They're not that bad. I will do a video later on, full disassembly on one, and show you how it's like. if you've never seen it before. But yeah, I mean, this is really supposed to be a budget build. It's not supposed to be crazy expensive. Factory 16x7 wheels that I got off of another X36 truck. That's obviously getting bigger wheels than that. I just dropped them off and got them powder coated, and used tires that came off that same truck. Because again, this truck's supposed to be budget. So I wanted it to be not as cheap as possible, but as cost effective as possible without going crazy. Obviously a lot of work into this truck. Definitely a few hundred hours on the chassis, and I rebuilt the engine here myself, just pretty much using hand tools. That pretty much wraps up part 2. So the plan here, you can now see the really nice looking 2-wheel drive Junior Mint truck is going to go on the really nice prepped out chassis. That's going to start happening today. My plan is to pull the cab. I'd like to leave the fenders attached, pull the inner fenders out because 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive fenders are different. Put the hood aside and just put it right up on my bend pack lift. Roll this chassis over and drop it right on top, and then do final connections. Just have a few things to wrap up. Gas tank. Gonna run some trans lines, and that's gonna be it. So if you like these videos that I'm punching out here at Dentside Depot, make sure to like and subscribe. Part 3, the cab is going to be on the chassis. I'm super excited to see what it looks like. So it's going to be really awesome.